Okay guys, so in this video we're going to learn about objects, and we've actually been using objects really since the first episode if you guys watched the basics tutorials. And main is an object, okay? And we've also used print writer as another object, scanner, file, all of those things are objects. And in this video we're going to make an object called a fraction, and if you go ahead and just type fraction here, you'll notice that it's red and it cannot resolve simple fraction because Java doesn't provide a fraction implementation. If you want a fraction, you can implement it yourself. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So right click on the source directory and then go to new and Java class, and we're going to type fraction. Hit enter. Okay, and you'll see that it generates us, sorry, let me delete this comment. You'll see that it generates us this public class fraction, and that's the exact same code that's here, okay? So, if you know anything about a fraction, you know that it has a numerator, which is generally presented as an integer. So let's say int numerator, and then you also know that it has a denominator, okay? And we're going to refer to these as instance variables, okay? And now, the real part you need to take away from this, aside from the instance variables, is this method we're going to write called a constructor. So a constructor, we're going to use the access modifier, which is this. We're going to use public. Okay, there's also protected and private, which we'll talk about in a later video, but for now we're just going to use public. And then, we're just going to say public, the class name, so fraction, and then, two parentheses, and then two squiggly brackets, okay? And now, one thing I just want to mention this before we go any further. If you want to change the class name ever, don't just change it right here. Don't just say fraction1, because then you'll get this issue. What you can actually do is you can just right click on this and go to the refactor and then rename, okay? And that'll rename it, and also will rename all references to it, like in any file, which is really nice. So now we have a very basic fraction class, okay? It's not very useful, but we'll go ahead and make a fraction. So let's say fraction, we'll say my fraction equals new fraction, okay? And you'll see that this doesn't give us any errors, we're just making a fraction. And we'll actually get this to do something before the end of this video. So let's say my fraction dot numerator equals 7, my fraction dot denominator equals 9, okay? And this is called using dot notation, because we're just using a dot, and then we're accessing the instance variables of this object, okay? So we're just going to print this out. So now if we s out fraction, and we're pretty much just going to use dot notation to access those variables. So my fraction dot numerator plus my fraction dot denominator. And we're going to go ahead and run this. And you'll see that it just printed out fraction 7 over 9, okay? And that's going to be it for this video, and over the next few tutorials we'll be slowly making fraction much more advanced, and overall much nicer, okay? Alright, thanks for watching, guys.